Well, listen, you mentioned Jaylen Brown's defense. I think that was a huge piece of why he was NBA Finals MVP. Although, admittingly, I was shocked. I thought Tatum, just being a couple rebounds off of messing around and getting a triple-double would be enough for him to sort of steal the award late, so to speak, and win it because, he and Jaylen Brown were neck and neck coming into this game for all intents and purposes. And then, sure enough, Tatum has a breakout game. Looks like he's the man. Yep. I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be Finals MVP, no problem. And they announced Jaylen Brown's name. And although I was shocked, I was pleasantly surprised because, quite frankly, Cullen, I thought he did deserve the MVP because he was more consistent. Really, right. Not just in the finals. I know it's a finals award, but in general, all postseason long. That's why we saw Jaylen Brown get the Eastern Conference Finals MVP as well, and everyone was sort of shocked there and surprised there. And then here we go again in the finals. He gets the award. Yes, it's deserving. Yes, we can all acknowledge that because of what he did offensively and defensively and as a leader all series long. But damn, it was like a shock. Like, okay, here we go. I guess it is Jaylen Brown's team, huh?
I think I agree with you and disagree with you in a couple of things here. Overall, I thought as the series went along, it was Brown's to lose. You mentioned the consistency, the 30 points in Game 3, and the way that he was able to step up when Tatum was, I'm not going to say struggling, but maybe at the very least wasn't producing the way we might have expected him to. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And that's nothing against Tatum, but it's in a team that is the Jays. Brown was stepping up in the bigger moments in this final series. But then we get to Game 5 and you're watching Jayson Tatum and you're watching him just absolutely eviscerate the Dallas Mavericks. And I'm thinking, like, I think the NBA and whoever is making these decisions is going to give this one to Tatum just because, like we've talked about, and I think, Travis, we had this exact conversation, that if those stats are comparable, it might go to Tatum because it's Jayson Tatum and
That's
because
right.
it's his team and all of these things. So I think statistically speaking, Brown is deserving of the MVP award. I don't think it's a question mark. I don't think it's not worth controversy because obviously the Celtics won. So who cares, right? Like at the end of the day, the overall prime directive was succeeded, but it's worth talking about in terms of who actually produced the most in these final series.
Yes.
Brown, in terms of the stats, I think he got there. And I think it also shows such a progression for Jaylen Brown and also for the conversation around Jaylen Brown. I remember, when that Supermax was signed, when you saw the money being involved and the negative point of view on that was like, what's it going to do to the locker room? Is it going to fracture the relationship? Is it going to be Brown versus Tatum going forward? Can the guy dribble with his left hand? Whatever it is.
Right.
And all of these things are now just, like I said, with some other things, they just kind of dissolve because the Celtics got the job done. And that's what makes this so special. So overall with the Finals MVP, like I said, and I think we've talked about this in bold predictions, that Brown was my Finals MVP pick, and it ended up coming to fruition because you said it, Travis, the consistency game in and game out helped the Celtics along more than any other player.
Well, you know what they say, Cullen. They say winning cures all, right? And that's
absolutely.
And that's what happens here. But I will say, over time, I am interested to see this dynamic between these two play out, just like I have been from the beginning of time when they were just young pups trying to find their way. Now, I mean, they're both in their prime. They are both doing it on a really championship level. We've seen it. I want to see over time now because Tatum is about to get paid too. He's going to make more than Jaylen Brown. So all your money's going to be wrapped up in these two guys. And I just want to see over time is how it plays out. Is this kumbaya thing we have going now going to last? Is it sustainable? Or once Tatum gets a contract, let's say they have some hardships. Let's say they lose in an Eastern Conference Finals again. Or let's say they get back to a Finals and lose again, which we have seen this team do. Maybe a Jokic or an ascending Anthony Edwards beats them. Whatever it is, I want to see over time how that relationship evolves or dissolves, quite frankly. That's what I'm tuned in to see is as all the money is tied up in these two players. Eventually, you're going to start. I know right now everyone's under contract, but I'm talking big picture. Right. Eventually, you're going to start losing some of these ancillary pieces who are so critical to this championship run. And oh, by the way, I mean, I want to see the same thing with Joe Mazzulla, Cullen, because he's going to lose assistance as this team continues to win. We see Charles Lee already now gone, taking the Hornets job. I think Sam Cassell's next. I just think as you win in any league as a head coach, your assistants become hot stuff and they get jobs elsewhere. Can you, as a coach, especially a young one in Joe Mazzulla, I know you have this ring now, but can you evolve your coaching game as well and be able to withstand some of those losses? I'm fascinated to see this between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, Joe Mazzulla, how he grows or doesn't. I want to see that over time because are we looking at a team that's just going to win this one ring and then we'll look back and say, man, they lost to Steph. They did get the one against the Mavs, but they should have got 3 or 4. Or is this a modern-day dynasty, which we'll talk about later, but I'm fascinated, Cullen, to sort of see all these things play out over the next 5 to 10 years.
And on the coaching side, Travis, this is just something you see. You mentioned across all leagues. Look at the NFL with the Belichick coaching tree, right? Sean McVay coaching tree, the Shanahan tree, all of these things. So it is really interesting. And I do wonder, now that you say that, how this is all going to play out. I think on the side of the Jays, from everything that we've seen about these two players, tells me that the maturity is there as, one player gets paid more than the other. One player gets more notoriety than the other. One day, what does the next player do the next day? They show up and show out, right? It's Tatum getting 31 after Brown gets 30, right? It's the same kind of thing. So overall, I don't anticipate there being an issue here. I am wearing rose-colored glasses right now because, last night we just watched the Celtics get that NBA Finals championship. But still, I will say, as of now, I don't think, maybe there's something worth worrying about if things go horribly awry next season or in 2 seasons from now. But as of now, and I think you would agree with me on this, Travis, that these two guys, they're win-first guys, and Drew Holiday's the same way. We talked about him last time we chatted, Travis. So I have to imagine that it's not going to get in the way of things. Another huge contract for Jayson Tatum, which is on the way. They say money can create those problems, but they did with Brown this season. And yes, the Celtics were winning all the time, and they didn't face too much adversity in terms of extended losing stretches. And if that does happen, we'll have a conversation at that time. But as of now, I really don't see that being a problem with these two players because, one, they don't have that weight on their shoulders anymore, right? There isn't the weight of the world crushing them down, which is you still haven't finished the job. Now they finish the job, and now they can kind of focus on if there is that money, situation with Jayson Tatum. If they do face a losing stretch down the line, they're still going to be able to fall back on this and say, this is how we succeeded then. We can kind of use that going forward. So I don't see it being an issue. The Mazzulla thing is really interesting because for a young head coach, that's where you have to start surrounding yourself with new minds and make the most of a situation when assistants start leaving. I'm really, really fascinated about that too.